People don't talk to dogs, you lunatic old man. Leo didn't flinch. He sat still on a worn bench in the park, murmuring softly to the aging dog whose head rested gently on his knee. A group of young guys burst out laughing. One of them started recording. Look at this, some lonely vet having a heart-to-heart with his dog. They thought it was hilarious. What they didn't know would hit them like a freight train. Just 3 hours later, a sleek black SUV pulled up without a sound. The doors opened, and 5 uniformed Marines stepped out. Without missing a beat, they marched up to the old man and delivered a crisp, unified salute. Welcome to Uncovered Tales. Let's dig into what really happened that day. Leo Martin, 71, was no ordinary senior. He was a retired Marine, a combat veteran who had completed 3 intense tours in Fallujah. These days, his world was quiet, a modest apartment and his lifelong companion, Chief. But Chief wasn't just any dog. He was a former military working dog, trained specifically to sniff out explosives and save lives. Back in 2005, during a high-risk mission, Chief detected a buried IED network that would have wiped out an entire patrol. Thanks to him, 4 Marines walked away alive. When the war ended, military policy dictated that dogs like Chief either stayed in service or were rehomed with handlers who had the right facilities. Leo wasn't about to let red tape stand in the way. He made calls, cashed in favors, and filled out endless forms to make sure Chief came home with him. We went in together, Leo told his commanding officer. We come out together. Chief had aged. His snout had turned silver, his eyes were cloudy with cataracts, and his hearing was nearly gone. But not once did Leo consider parting ways. Their connection had been sealed in fire, forged in survival. It went beyond time or convenience. Every morning like clockwork, Leo would take Chief to the park. They always chose the same bench. Leo would open a paperback, occasionally glancing down, speaking softly to the dog at his side, as if they were simply 2 old friends catching up. He'd talk about the day's weather, recount memories from overseas, or offer calming words when Chief seemed unsettled. Remember that sandstorm outside Ramadi? Leo would murmur. We couldn't see 3 feet ahead, but you never lost the scent. Never hesitated. One Tuesday, that routine caught the attention of a few young men nearby. They chuckled among themselves before pulling out their phones. Yo, get this, one of them called out. Old dude thinks his dog talks back. They recorded Leo as he leaned forward, whispering to Chief, pausing occasionally, as if waiting for a reply only he could hear. An hour later, the clip was online with the cruel caption. Crazy old vet. His only friend's a dog who doesn't even understand him. Later that day, the park manager came over, looking uncomfortable. Mr. Martin, we've had a few complaints, he said, hesitating. People are concerned about you talking to yourself. It's making others uneasy. I'm talking to my dog, Leo said calmly, meeting the man's eyes without blinking. Yes, well, maybe you could keep it to your apartment, the manager suggested awkwardly. Some parents are worried about their kids seeing odd behavior. Leo didn't argue. He'd endured worse than judgmental glances and veiled insults. He stood slowly, gathering his things. Chief, though clearly struggling, pushed himself up. His joints creaked and his movements were stiff, but his determination hadn't dulled. It's okay, buddy, Leo said gently, brushing a hand over Chief's thinning fur. Let them laugh. You're the only one who stayed when the world fell apart. Chief nudged Leo's hand with his nose, a simple, wordless act of love that hadn't changed in all these years. Together, they began the slow walk toward the park's edge, the sound of mockery fading behind them. If you believe that someone good should never be forgotten, the story read online. Then stick around. This isn't over. 2 weeks after that humiliating day, Leo found an eviction notice taped to his apartment door. The veteran housing complex claimed he'd violated pet policies and failed to provide documentation proving Chief was a registered service animal. He had submitted the documents 3 separate times. But military bureaucracy was a maze, and Chief's records were sealed under classified operations. Every appeal vanished into a black hole of paperwork. With no relatives to rely on and a pension that barely stretched far enough, Leo sold off what little he owned. He bought an old RV and parked it near a quiet lake, one where he and Chief had trained back in the day, before deployment. That patch of land felt more like home than any city apartment ever could. Each day, they walked the lake's edge, step by step. Leo matched his stride to Chief's slow, painful pace. The dog was fading, but his devotion never faltered. Then one bitter morning, Chief collapsed, his body seized uncontrollably. Leo scooped him up without hesitation and raced to the nearest vet, his heart thudding in panic. "Please," he pleaded at the front desk, voice trembling, "he needs help now. I don't have much, but I'll work off the cost. Anything." The receptionist barely glanced up from her screen. "We don't offer charity here. There's an animal shelter across town that does low-cost euthanasia, if that's what you're after." "We don't do charity work here. There's a shelter across town that handles low-cost euthanasia, if that's what you're after." "Euthanasia?" Leo's voice cracked as the word landed like a punch to the gut. "I'm not here to put him down, I'm here to save him." "I'm sorry, sir," she replied flatly. "Treatment requires full payment up front. That's our policy." Leo sank into a chair in the waiting area, holding Chief's trembling frame against his chest. He didn't shed a tear, he had long since trained himself to carry pain quietly. Instead, his calloused hands moved in slow, soothing strokes over the dog's fur, comforting more than just Chief. Nearby, a teenager loitering in the lobby recognized Leo from the viral clip that had taken over social media, thousands of snide comments piling up by the hour. Smirking, the kid pulled out his phone again and whispered. Dog whisperer still chatting with his four-legged shrink. By nightfall, the internet was flooded with fresh memes. When your best and only friend has 4 legs. Old vet still thinks Fido gets flashbacks. Leo paid no mind. He carried Chief back to their RV, wrapped him tightly in his own jacket, and stayed up through the night, monitoring every shallow breath. He crushed his pain meds into Chief's water bowl, choosing his partner's comfort over the agony of his own worn-out joints. "Hang in there, buddy," Leo whispered through clenched teeth. "We've made it through worse. Remember those nights in Fallujah? You kept me warm when the desert froze. My turn now." What the internet mockers missed, what they never even saw, was the tag hanging from Chief's collar. It wasn't decorative. It was official. K9 USMC 4521. Saved 4 lives. Purple Heart recipient. Even fewer understood why Leo still addressed him with rank. "Easy now, Corporal. Steady." To Leo, Chief wasn't just a dog. He was a fellow Marine, still on duty, in his eyes, never discharged, never forgotten. The following morning, Leo scraped together the last of his pension and purchased a few antibiotics from a sympathetic clerk at the local feed store. It wasn't ideal care, but it was all he could offer. As Chief's condition continued to deteriorate, Leo remained at his side, reading aloud from the same tattered paperbacks that once helped calm them both during nights when thunder mimicked enemy shelling. A jogger passed by the RV, casting a puzzled glance at the old man speaking softly to the frail dog beside him. She muttered under her breath. "That weird homeless vet." Leo heard her. But he didn't flinch. Civilians had stopped understanding a long time ago. The only judgment he cared about was lying beside him, fighting for every breath, tail still twitching in loyalty. "How do you feel about how the world treated this man, someone who once wore the uniform for all of us? If it hurts to see, type unfair below." 3 hours after the second clip went viral, an unmarked black SUV with government plates rolled up quietly near Leo's RV. 5 Marines stepped out in full dress blues, their movements precise, their presence unmistakably official. The eldest, a master sergeant, strode to the RV door and knocked with firm authority. "Mr. Leo Martin." Leo opened the door, Chief still cradled in his arms like something sacred. His face showed confusion, but his posture straightened instinctively at the sight of the uniforms. "Sir," the Master Sergeant began, offering a perfect salute. "I'm Master Sergeant Briggs. With me are Lieutenant Jacobs, Corporal Alvarez, Lance Corporal Baker, and Private First Class Nolan." Without thinking, Leo returned the salute, his arm rising from muscle memory etched into his bones. "Sir," said Lieutenant Jacobs, stepping forward with quiet reverence. "Chief pulled me out of a compound near Ramadi. My unit was pinned down, and he found the exit. And you never left him behind, even when protocol said you should have. So now we're here to make sure neither of you are left behind either." Then, all 5 Marines turned and saluted again, this time, not just for Leo, but for Chief as well. "We've come to escort you both to the Naval Veterinary Hospital in Bethesda," Briggs said. "Chief has been reactivated under the Battle Buddies Forever program. He's cleared for full medical support, effective immediately." Leo's face barely moved, but emotion welled in his eyes. "He can hardly walk," he murmured. "We're ready for that, sir," Corporal Alvarez replied gently. From the back of the SUV, they brought out a specially designed stretcher for K-9 veterans. With practiced care, they helped Leo place Chief onto the padded frame, securing him with soft straps. Leo hesitated, then began, "Those people who filmed us are being dealt with," Master Sergeant Briggs said without hesitation. "The Commandant himself saw the footage this morning. He had some strong words about what it means to respect those who serve, two-legged or four." As the small procession prepared to leave, news vans started pulling up, cameras already rolling. But Briggs held up a hand, blocking their view. "This isn't a photo op," he said firmly. "This is a promise being kept. This isn't for show. This is about standing by our own." One reporter did cover the story, but out of respect, she honored the Marines' request for privacy. The article she published the next morning was titled, "Dogs Don't Speak." But 5 Marines answered a silent call. At the Naval Veterinary Hospital, Chief was placed under constant care, looked after by specialists in K-9 geriatric medicine who understood exactly what kind of warrior lay before them. As for the teenager who had once mocked Leo online, he reappeared too, though not in the way anyone expected. After his commanding officer, learning he was an ROTC cadet, gave him a direct reality check, the boy posted a heartfelt apology. "I didn't get it," he admitted on camera, his voice unsteady. "I thought he was just some old guy talking to a dog. I didn't realize Chief was a decorated war hero. I had no clue what they'd been through together." Elsewhere, veterans from 3 neighboring states quietly came together, no fundraising campaign, no headlines, just determination. They pooled resources, called in old contacts, and leaned on every favor they had left. Within days, they secured a cozy, mortgage-free home for Leo, arranged through a veteran housing initiative. It sat near a tranquil lake, with level walking trails that would be easy on Chief's legs. The local HOA had strict rules about animals, but after hearing the story of Leo and Chief, the board voted unanimously to grant them an exception. 2 weeks later, once Chief's health had stabilized enough for release, the hospital held a formal ceremony. The dog many had once dismissed as nothing more than an old man's comfort companion was finally given the honor he had earned. The K-9 Service Medal, approved years ago but never awarded, was formally presented. Leo stood tall as he accepted the medal on Chief's behalf. Chief, wearing his vest and sitting upright despite the toll of time and illness, held his posture with dignity. A military photographer captured the moment Chief lifted his paw, slowly, deliberately, in what looked unmistakably like a salute. As Leo prepared to take Chief home, the original 5 Marines returned. But this time, they weren't alone. Veterans from all branches, all generations, lined the path outside the hospital, dozens of them forming two silent rows, shoulder to shoulder. Leo walked between them, Chief walking slowly by his side, his strength not fully returned, but his spirit unshaken. Every Marine there lifted their hand in a unified salute, honoring not just the man, but the dog who had earned his place among them with valor and unwavering loyalty. Semper Fidelis, Master Sergeant Briggs said softly as they passed. Always faithful. Both of you. Have you ever stood by someone even when everyone else turned away? If so, your story matters too. From that day on, Leo could be found most mornings sitting on the porch of his new home, reading aloud to Chief just like he always had. Only now, the world around them had changed. People didn't scoff anymore. They nodded in greeting. Some even stopped to say hello. Children from the neighborhood, once warned to steer clear of the strange old man, now came by regularly, curious, kind, and respectful. Leo welcomed them, teaching them how to approach Chief calmly so he wouldn't be startled. "Is your dog a superhero?" one wide-eyed boy asked. Leo chuckled, his smile warmer than it had been in years. "No, kiddo. He's just a Marine. Same as me." That Veterans Day, the local elementary school invited Leo and Chief to attend their assembly. Leo passed on speaking at the podium, but agreed to sit quietly in the back. Chief, donning his vest, accepted gentle pats from the students, children who now understood that heroes don't always carry rifles. Sometimes, they wear collars. A few days later, without fanfare, a small bronze plaque appeared at the park bench where Leo had once been laughed at. No ribbon cutting. No press. Just a simple tribute. Dedicated to the service of military working dogs and their handlers. Loyalty beyond words. The final video to go viral painted a very different picture than the one that started it all. This time, it showed Leo and Chief by the lake at sunset, just the two of them, silhouetted against the golden light. A few visiting Marines stood nearby, observing quietly. One of them raised a phone and hit record, just in time to capture a moment no one expected. Chief, without any cue, lifted his muzzle to the sky and let out a single, haunting howl. It echoed across the still water, low and resonant. A sound full of memory and meaning. Every veteran present knew what it was. Remembrance. Leo placed a steady hand on Chief's back, his touch firm and familiar. No words were needed. None would have been enough. They didn't need a stage. Or applause. Just the quiet understanding that sacrifice had been made, that duty had been upheld, and that some bonds outlast even the war. Because sometimes, all it takes is one man and one old dog to remind a whole generation what honor really looks like when the fighting is long over. Have you ever seen loyalty taken for granted? Share your story, it deserves to be remembered too. Subscribe to Uncovered Tales, where we preserve the moments that matter, so future generations never forget what it means to serve, to stay, and to stand by those who never left our side.